pay my respect to Param Pujya Bodhisattva, the most respected Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar, and also all the great leaders of our community who have sacrificed their life for the welfare of human beings. I pay my respect to all of them. And we are here in the Women History Month, the month which is for celebrating the victory of women, the achievements of women. So I pay my respect to the great women who also have sacrificed their lives for the well-being of humans, like Bhikkhuni, the first Bhikkhuni, Mahaprajapati Gautami Arhant the wife of Buddha, Yashodhara Arhantathiri, the daughter of Emperor Ashoka, Sanghamitra Arhantathiri, and many other Buddhist nuns, also in modern era like Mata Ramai, Mata Savitri Bai Phule, and many other women who have sacrificed their life, who had immense knowledge and wisdom, and have the compassion as well, and have worked hard for the well-being of humans. I pay my respect to all the great leaders and all the great women who have taken birth just for the humanity. And today we are here in the second session. Last week on Sunday, I have already shared with you the beautiful journey of the first Bhikkhuni Mahaprajapati, her strong determination, her compassion, her loving kindness towards all living beings, and her way to practice the life of a Buddhist nun and be with the women and let the women have compassion and stayed with them for a very long time. Today we are here with the different topics of for women, that is overcoming suffering, the Buddhist teachings for women. We know that we all have sufferings. Not only women, even the men have sufferings, and we all know that. So, if we talk about the suffering, first we need to understand what is suffering, because we know that everyone has suffering, and even Buddha has said that dukkha, the first noble truth, that is dukkha, the suffering. Everyone has suffering. And what we are trying to do, why we are learning the teachings of the Buddha, just to get rid of that suffering, to get rid of cycle of suffering. So what is suffering? We need to understand that. Usually we think that like sometimes we may think that we have suffering, we are doing good in life. The women, most of the women, they say like that. Sometimes women come to me, the lay women and some bhikkhunis also sometimes. We may think sometimes that we are very good and we are doing good. We are not harming anyone, and we have the compassionate heart and everything. But why we have to suffer that? Why only good people have to suffer? You may have heard this, or you may have felt like this sometime, that I am good, I am analyzing myself, I am doing good to everybody, but still I have the suffering. So you need to understand that suffering is not for one or two people. Suffering is not only for bad people. Suffering is for everyone. That's why Buddha has said that this is the first noble truth. There is suffering, and everyone has suffering, no matter whether they are good, no matter whether they are bad. But everyone has suffering. Suffering is not individual, suffering is universal. We need to understand that first. We need to accept that. Then the question may arise, then why we have to be good with the people who are bad to us when we will have the suffering same like them? Whatever the sufferings we have, it is the result of our previous karmas. And we need to get the result. We have to get the result. We cannot get rid of those results. But whatever good we are doing today will have the result in future as well. So First, we need to understand no matter how good we are doing in life, how good we are behaving with the people, how good our behavior is, we cannot get rid of suffering from that suffering from which is a result of our previous karmas. We cannot. We have to have the suffering. So we need to understand the types of suffering because we know that every woman in the world have suffering, no matter they are young girls or women, householders or working women, no matter who they are, but everyone is suffering. So, what kind of sufferings do they have? Buddha has explained in Tipitaka three types of suffering. What kind of suffering do you have? You need to understand that first. We need to understand. The first suffering is physical and mental suffering. In Pali, when the Buddha gave the first sermon at Varanasi, that is called Dhammacakka Pavatana Sutta. In that sutta, Buddha has explained Jati pi dukkha, Jara pi dukkha, Vyadhi pi dukkha, Maranam pi dukkha, Piyehi vipayogo dukkha, Apiyehi sampayogo dukkha, Yam pichang nalabhati tam pi dukkha. What does that mean? It means birth is suffering. We know that nobody takes birth laughing or smiling. Whenever a small baby is born, they are born with crying only. So the birth is suffering. Getting old is suffering. Getting sick is suffering. And death is suffering. So this physical and mental suffering, this physical suffering, everybody has, no matter whether they are women or whether they are men. They all are taking birth. They all are getting old. They get sick also, and they die sometime. They die. Whoever is born in, they have to die. So we need to accept that first because many women they are so much into their beauty and they like their beauty so much. They like to be young always, as we see nowadays that women are more uh, focusing on their external beauty. They spend a lot of time, they spend a lot of money on their body, on their beauty to be young, to look young, even in their old age. And when someone appreciate their beauty, that you are looking young, you are not looking like you are getting old. They become so happy. But we need to understand that we are getting old. We will die. We get sick also. And all this is suffering. And this is only because we have taken the birth. This suffering. This is physical suffering as well as we have the mental suffering also. What is mental suffering? The Buddha says, "Piyehi viyogo dukkha." Our loved ones, our nearest and dearest one, whenever they get apart from us, like they die or they leave us alone, so we get suffering. Our mind, this is not physical suffering, right? This is mental suffering when we apart from our dearest ones, loved ones. And the next one, Buddha says, Apiyehi sampayogo dukkha. When the person whom we don't like our enemies or the person we don't like to see them, when they come in front of us, when we meet them, so we feel anxiety. We feel like we all day we have the negative thoughts and we don't feel good. We feel bad and we feel suffering. And then Buddha says, Yam pichan nalabhati tampi dukkham. Whatever we need in life, whatever we want in life, whatever we desire in our life, if we don't get it, we feel suffering. So these three are mental suffering. So the Buddha says taking birth is suffering, getting old is suffering, getting sick is suffering, die is suffering. These are the physical suffering. The next is when we meet someone whom we don't like is suffering. when we get apart from someone whom we like, our loved ones, is suffering. And whatever we want in life, whatever desire in life, if we don't get it, we feel suffering. So, first kind of suffering is this physical and mental suffering. So, this is you will have it at any cost. You cannot get rid of these sufferings. You will take birth. If you have taken birth on this earth, you will get sick. You cannot get rid of getting sick. No matter, you may have cold, you may have fever sometime, you may not feel good, your body may feel like not energetic, very lazy, dizzy, or you may have some big disease, big sickness like cancer or some other kind of disability or something. So you will have suffering at any cost, getting sick. And if you have taken birth, you will get old, no matter how much you eat healthy, how much you spend your time and money on your beauty, on your products, you will get old and you will die one day, no matter how much you try to live long. So this is suffering. And the next is you will have to get apart from your loved ones. Someday your parents, your husband, your wife, your children will die. So you will and your friends also. So you will have to get rid of them. You will have to someday they will go far from you. And no matter how much you dislike the people, but someday you will have to meet them. You will meet them in family function or etc. etc. But you will meet them. So you will feel suffering. So first you need to understand what kind of suffering you have, the physical suffering or mental suffering. The second type of suffering is the anxiety and depression. The second type of is anxiety and depression when you try very hard to hold on the things. You see, sometimes we try to hold on the things. We try that everything should be in our control. We try to hold on the things which are constantly changing, but we do not accept that. And when we do not accept the things who are constantly changing, then we get the anxiety, we get the depression, and that anxiety and depression is the second kind of suffering or dukkha in body. The third type of is unsatisfactoriness. We are sometimes we are very unsatisfied with everything happening in our life, like continuous unsatisfactoriness in our mind. No matter how much someone is putting their efforts to do good, but still it is not up to your expectations and you feel very unsatisfactory. So you don't feel satisfied. So it is also a kind of suffering. So these are three kinds of suffering. So women, sisters, we need to understand what kind of sufferings do we have. Do we have the physical or mental suffering all the time? Like, because everyone has a different life. We know that everyone has a different life. As a bhikkhuni, we are also women, but as a bhikkhuni, we may have different life. We may have the physical suffering because we are also getting old. We are getting sick sometime and we will die one day. We have the physical suffering and that's okay. Even the Buddha had the physical suffering and we cannot get rid of this suffering. But do we have the mental suffering? We can say sometimes we may have the mental suffering because we still love our parents, we are not that much attached to them, but yeah, somewhere we are a little bit attached to them. So we may feel suffering when our parents get sick or when they die, we may feel suffering sometime. And we if we meet someone whom we don't like, we may have sufferings. So as a bhikkhuni, I can feel what kind of suffering do I have. So women, we need to understand what kind of suffering do you have. Do you have the physical and mental suffering all the time? Or do you have the suffering because you are trying to control or you are trying to hold on the things which are not into your control, which are which are constantly changing, but you don't want them to change, and you are trying to hold on those things, and that's why you are getting anxiety and depression. So it means you have suffering, or maybe you are just not satisfied with anything in your life. Your behavior is like continuous unsatisfactoriness in your behavior. You need everything should be done according to your expectations, and when nothing is there according to your expectations, then you feel uh, unsatisfactory, and there is suffering in your life. So you need to understand that first. What kind of suffering do we have in our life? It may be from your parents, it may be from your husband, it may be from your child, it may be from your colleagues, from your friends, from your relatives, it may be anyone. But what kind of suffering do you have? We need to understand that. How Buddha has changed these kinds of suffering in his life, in the women's life who were there suffering during Buddha's era. We know that many examples, like the first example we had already discussed, the Mahaprajapati, the mother, the foster mother of Buddha. We know the wife of Buddha, Yashodhara. We know the Kisa Gautami. You may have heard the story of Kisa Gautami, Patachara. So first we need to understand how Buddha has changed their mind. You see, let me give you an example of Kisa Gautami. Kisa Gautami was the woman whose only child passed away. She had only one son and he passed away. And she was suffering. She had the suffering because what kind of suffering did she have? She had the physical suffering. Piyehi vipayogorupa. The loved one had passed away. Her only child passed away. So she was suffering. At that time, she was going from one village to another village to another village to another house, asking everyone to cure his only child, to cure her son. But everyone was saying that she has become mad. She is mad. She doesn't know that her son has died already, and whoever has died cannot come back to life. But she was asking everyone to give life to her son. And then someone suggested her to go to the Buddha. And Buddha has a very beautiful way of explaining, of understanding, of making people understand the Dharma. Buddha had a very beautiful way. What the Buddha did not say anything to her. Buddha said that, okay, I can cure your son. I can give life to your son. I can give life to your son. So what you have to do is only bring a handful of mustard seed from a house where nobody has died ever, where nobody has never died. She was like, because she was in suffering, she did not understand. She could not understand. Today we are here, and if we are listening these words of the Buddha, we can understand clearly. There is no house in the world where nobody has never died. Everyone has their loved ones and dearest and nearest one lost, but she could not understand because she was suffering. The same thing happened to us. When we are suffering, we cannot understand what is happening, what is right, what is wrong. We cannot understand. But Buddha tried to make her understand. So Buddha asked her to do that, and she said, okay, I can do that. She went from one house to another, to another, to another, until till the evening, until she was exhausted, until she was tired. And every house, wherever she went, when she asked for a mustard seed, everybody was ready. Sorry. Everybody was ready to give her a handful of mustard seed. But when she asked, is there anyone died in your family? They were like, yes, everyone, in every family, somebody died. Our father died, our mother died, or our grandparent died, our wife, husband died. So till the evening, she was asking, and when she was exhausted in the evening, then she understood. that I am not the only one who has lost their loved one, who has lost their dearest and nearest one. In every family, there are people who have lost their loved ones. So then she accepted that. She accepted that. So the first thing that we learn from this story is accept. If you are denying, because dukkha, suffering, when we say dukkha, dukkha, a negative term comes in our mind. And when we say sukha, a positive term it comes in our mind. When we say dukkha, oh, dukkha means negative. When we say sukha, sukha means positive. No, don't look at it like this. Dukkha is not negative. Do not take dukkha as negative. If you are taking it negatively, it means you are denying having the dukkha. You are refusing to accept that there is dukkha. So first, what you have to do is accept that there is dukkha. Dukkha is not negative. It is as it is. Just accept it. Do not refuse. Do not deny. Just accept. And when Isa Gautami accepted that there is suffering, everyone in the world has suffering because everyone has lost their loved ones. I am not the only one who has lost the loved one. So she accepted, and when she accepted, she was not, she was like, no more have suffering. She did not have suffering after that. Then she went to the Buddha and she buried her son and she became a bhikkhuni and she enlightened also. She became arahant also. So this is the Buddha's way. First, whatever the kind of suffering you have, you need to understand the nature of that suffering. Is it physical suffering? Is it mental suffering? Is it like holding on the things which are constantly changing and having anxiety and depression due to that? Or is it uh, unsatisfied? Always the behavior of unsatisfactoriness. Whatever the people are doing is not up to my expectations, and that's why I'm suffering. It is not like the people who are doing that, but it is not like the people. It is not the people who are not meeting my expectations. It is me who is having the more expectations and then having the unsatisfactoriness and then having the suffering. So first, try to understand the nature of suffering and then do not refuse it. Just try to accept as it is. Try to accept it. So this is Buddha's way. And then there are many stories like Patachara. You may have heard the Patachara Bhikkhuni. She was the bhikkhuni, but before she became a bhikkhuni, she was a mad woman who was wandering in streets without clothes, untidy hairs, like looking. She was actually very beautiful when she was in her home life, but she ran away with a thief because she loved him, and she ran away with him. She started staying with him in a forest in a very small hut, and then she got pregnant and she delivered two child, but both of the child passed away. Her husband also passed away. And then when she decided to go to her parents again, and she came to know that the palace of her parents got burned, and her brother, her mother, her father, they all passed away already. Now she was all alone. She did not have the parents, she did not have brother, she did not have husband, she did not have child, and also she did not have money. And then she got mad. You may have that suffering also. Some of you may have that suffering also. You may have lost your father, mother, or husband or child at the same time. And you may have the same mental disability like the Patachara had sometime. Patashara was not able to recognize herself. She was wandering in one from one street to another street. She was like a mad woman, and she did not even had the proper clothes on her body. She had the untidy hair, not clean teeth, no brush, no washing, no cleaning, no taking bath or having the food whatever is available on the streets. She became like that. But when she came to the Buddha, Buddha gave her the Dhamma talk. Buddha let her understand the suffering, accept the suffering, accept your karmas, accept the fruit or the result of your karmas. And then she accepted that and she became a bhikkhuni and she became arahant also. So this was the Buddha's way. Just accept whatever the suffering you have. Try to recognize the nature of those suffering and then accept that. Do not deny, do not refuse it. So this is the first way to overcome the suffering. So we women have the power, no matter how busy we are, but we need to understand the nature of our suffering and we need to understand, we need to accept the suffering. Then let's move on the second step. The second step, how to manage and how just like I was given the topic. Today also we have many social norms and we suffer due to some social norms, some social pressure also. And sometimes we have the self-doubt also. We have a lot of attachment. For sure, we have a lot of attachment. The men, they do not have that much attachment, but the women are attached to the family, to all the things around her, especially to the family, to her your body. So she is too much attached. And also the social pressure which she has may bring suffering to her life. So how to overcome all of these suffering? So the first way is to accept. I just as I said earlier, accept that you have the suffering and try to recognize the nature of that suffering. What kind of suffering do I have? Do I have mental suffering? Do I have physical suffering? Do I have the anxiety and depression for trying too much hard to hold on the things which are constantly changing? Or do I have suffering because the people around me are not meeting my expectations and I am always unsatisfied and that's why I have sufferings? Try to recognize. Let's move ahead from the Buddha's teachings, how the Buddha did and what the Buddha said. First, we need to, you may have heard a verse in Dhammapada. The fourth verse in Dhammapada, not fourth, the third verse in Dhammapada is Akochi mang avadhi mang ajeni mang ahasimi. You may have heard about this. Buddha says that whoever has hold the grudges like he or she has abused me, she has beat me, she has insulted me, or she has robbed me. Those who hold these things, who hold such thoughts, cannot eliminate her hatred. Her hatred cannot be eliminated ever. So this is the first way. I think this is very inspirational verse that do not, because we women have the habit of holding the things for so long. Whatever has happened today, we may not explain, we may not say anything about that, but we will have those things in our mind for such a long time. And after so many years, or after some weeks, or after some months, we will suddenly it pop out from our mouth that she has done that, he has done that, he abused me, he did that to me, he did that to me, he robbed me, he insulted me. It means we still have that hatred. If you have accepted that there are something which are constantly changing, that there are something the people have done wrong to you and they have not met your expectations, just forget it. Do not hold it, because the second quality is letting go, feel and letting go. Live in present and forgive others. There are four things in this. First is heal yourself. Healing is a process. It may not happen suddenly. but healing is a process. When you will leave these things behind, that someone has abused you, someone has robbed you, someone has insulted you, just do not take these things personally. Do not keep these things in your mind. Just let them go, forgive them, heal yourself, and live in present. Do not have anything from past. So this is the second thing. First, do not uh, keep the keep those things in your mind for such a long time. The second is let them go. What? Let ideas, opinions, hatred, people, let everything go. Forgive them. Do not take anything personally, and live in present. Do not think about the past. And meditation helps in this process a lot. Now, how to let them? It's not easy. I understand that. It's not easy to let the things go. Then how we can do that? If we know the process of impermanence, there are tilakhana. In Buddhism, we say tilakhana. Tilakhana is three characteristics: anicca, dukkha, anatta. Anicca is impermanence. There is nothing in the world which is permanent. Everything is impermanent. When you are suffering, no matter what is the nature of the suffering, whenever you are suffering, just think that everything is impermanent. You might have a lot of sufferings in the past, from your childhood till now. You might have faced a lot of sufferings. And even in the future, till you are alive, you will have a lot of sufferings. Maybe you may have the same kinds of sufferings as you have now. You may have different kinds of suffering in the future. But just practice, just think about impermanence nature of all things. When you do the anicca bhavana, anicca means everything is impermanent. Just when you sit in the meditation and when you are doing the Vedananupassana sometime, feeling sensations, you will feel that there are sensations in the body, but when you will not react on that, after some time, there will be no sensation. It will change. The sensation will change. They are constantly changing. So it means you have seen, you have experienced the impermanence of all feelings, of all sensations. See, whatever the sufferings are there in your mind, it is not due to somebody else's actions. It is inside you. You have to realize that you are suffering because of you. You are not suffering because of any other. You have the sufferings because you are holding on the things. So just let them go and practice. Practice again and again the impermanent nature of things. It whatever the things, whatever the people, whatever the ideas, opinions, or situations are troubling you, are giving dukkha to you are suffering due to some ideas, opinion, people, situation, or whatever it is, just think that it is impermanent. It will not stay permanent, and it will help you when you will learn the nature of impermanence. You will start experiencing the nature of impermanence. You will it will help you to let go of the things, to let go of the people, to let go of the situation. It will help you letting go of everything. And slowly and gradually, you will find yourself detached from those things. Here, we need to understand that detaching is not like you are not caring about anyone. No, this is the detachment full of compassion, full of loving kindness, metta, and you have the compassion and loving kindness, but you are still not attached to them. Now, no people, no situation can give you sufferings because you are suffering because you have the attachment. You are attached to those people, those ideas, those people, those opinions, or those situations. But when you will start realizing, experiencing the nature of impermanence, you will learn how to heal yourself. You will learn how to letting go of ideas, opinions, people, situations. When you will learn all of these things, then slowly you will start realizing that you are not attached to those things now. You are detached from those things, but you still have the compassion and loving kindness for those things. So this is the way where the Buddha has explained, the Buddha has taught to many women in that era. And uh, yes, the next is accept. Accept the situation, accept the people, accept the ideas, accept whatever is happening, which is troubling you, which is giving suffering to you. Just accept those people, those situations as they really are. We need to understand that most of the time we are suffering because we do not accept. We want something or some people as we say or as we think they should do according to us. They should behave according to us. Or some situation should not be like that. The situation should be what we think. And when those people or those situations are not according to us, we do not accept that and we feel suffering. So start accepting. When you will start accepting now, then you will start understanding those people and those situations much better. And this is my personal experience, really. When I started accepting those situations, the situations and the people became very light, very it was not heavy on my mind. I started understanding them more beautifully, more deeply, I would say. Let me give you an example. Like now, yesterday, we came from Bodh Gaya. We know that Mahabodhi Mahavihara movement is going on in Bodh Gaya. So we went there with 50 people from Nagpur. And when we were on half our way, our bus it stopped working. And we had to stay at Mirzapur Highway for like 14 hours. In that situation, of course, it was suffering because it was already a long journey from Nagpur to Bodh Gaya, around 22 hours, 24 hours journey, and 14 hours we stuck on the highway with no toilets, no water, no shelter, nothing there. What we did is we just laid down a mat on the highway. We did the morning meditation, morning puja, morning dhamma talk there. We did the breakfast. We did the lunch there on highway. And everyone, because they wanted to go for washroom, so they went in open field and everyone was like from good families. They were never used to that. But we accepted what I saw is what I felt in that situation is we accepted that situation, and that's why nobody suffered. Nobody felt like they are suffering. Nobody felt like it's 14 hours we are staying on a highway. Everyone was happy. Everyone was laughing and playing and singing the song and enjoying. It was like a picnic. We were enjoying the picnic on the highway. So we accepted that situation and we accepted that's why we understood each other. We helped each other. If someone was getting irritated, other people were helping them. Let it be. It happens. This is technical problem. We don't have everything in our hands. So everyone was trying to make them understand and everyone was happy. So we need to accept us. And most of them, around I think 45 were the women, only 5 men were there. And we 45 women who accepted that situation, and we did not get irritated, we did not get frustrated, we had understanding of each other, we had the compassion for each other, and we just let the situation go. Even the driver was afraid, but we did not say anything to the driver, and we just calm him down. That's okay, it happens, don't worry, we are waiting for you. Just let the bus get repaired, and at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, the bus got repaired and we started again our journey. So this is just an example. So first, do not hold in your mind the things which has done, which was in past, like someone abused you, someone insulted you, someone had something bad behavior with you. Just let it go. Just heal yourself for yourself. Accept the things as they are, to have the more understanding of the people, have compassion in your heart, try to practice the nature of impermanence and cultivate yourself in Shila, in virtues. This is very important because we know that for women, most of the things which come or people have due to their character. So we should cultivate ourselves. We should develop ourselves in virtues. Our virtues or our Shila should be very strong so that we will not have self-doubt. Because Buddha has said that whoever follows the Sila will have the confidence. They will not have the vichikicha. Vichikicha means the doubts, the doubts in anybody, Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha, or in ourselves also. So if you follow the Sila, if you develop yourself in Sila, if you have the strong foundation of Sila, then you will not have any doubt. You will have a lot of confidence in yourself, and then everyone will in the world, no matter whether they are men or they are women, will accept you. So these are the qualities of women which can help us to get rid of suffering, to overcome our suffering. And Buddha has explained, and Buddha has experienced, Buddha has taught, and Buddha has given these qualities, or made the women realize these qualities. And many women have realized these qualities, and they were able to got rid of their suffering. In the same way, we can do that. So this is all. I will conclude my Dhamma talk with the key points. First, dukkha is universal. It is not individual. It is not about good or bad people. So accept that. No matter whether you are good, whether you are bad, you will have the suffering. But what kind of suffering you have? You need to understand the nature of suffering. Physical, mental, or holding on the things that are constantly changing, like anxiety and depression, or unsatisfactoriness. So try to uh, recognize the nature of those sufferings. Then, how to get rid of those sufferings is very important. There are many ways. If we talk about the Buddha's way, is a noble eightfold path, because the main cause of suffering is our desire, is our strong desire, which is called Krishna. But Krishna is the main cause, and to get rid of those suffering is the noble eightfold path. Noble eightfold path has the pragya. Pragya means wisdom, then virtues, and then samadhi is concentration or meditation. So wisdom, virtues, and concentration. Pragya, Shila, Samadhi is the key to get rid of suffering. But how to apply that in our practical life, in our daily life, because everyone has a different life. Some of you may have homemaker, you are just uh, staying at home and raising your kids, taking care of home, taking care of your families. Some of you may have jobs, some of you may have a business, or some of you may have some kind of professional qualities and you are in some profession. So everyone, some of you may have the studies, you are a student maybe. So everyone has a different life. So how to apply those path which Buddha has explained in our practical life is very important. So I have given you a simplest way in which what you can apply in your life and get rid of those suffering. So first, do not live in the past, live in the present. Just get rid of those things, get rid of those thoughts that someone has abused you, someone has insulted you, or had done something bad to you. Just do not have those things in your mind. Live in the present moment. The second thing is let everything go. Let everyone go. No matter whether it is an idea, opinion, or people, or situation, just let everything go and live in present. Heal yourself. The third is accept. Accept the things, accept the situation, accept the people as they really are, not as you want them to be. If it is not even met your expectations, just do not let everyone or everything in your control or try to hold on the things. No, just accept whatever the situation, whatever the people have. In that way, you will have more understanding of the situation and you will have more understanding of the people. And then you can develop and cultivate compassion in this way. Then make yourself strong. Have the strong foundation of virtues, of Shila. Make yourself strong in your Shila. Do not break any Shila. It is very important to have the strong foundation in your life and uh, have the compassion and loving kindness for all living beings, for all the people. And the most important thing is try to practice to experience the impermanent nature of all the things, of all the people, of all the situation. And in this way, you will get rid of social injustice, social pressure, self-doubt. Because there are many things in the society which cannot be changed. We cannot change everyone's opinion. We cannot change everyone's ideas. We cannot change the social, whatever the tradition or culture they have made for women. We cannot break everything in at once. But what we can do is we can have self-control and we can do what we want to do. Gradually, they will understand. Gradually, they will start accepting us and gradually they will break all their social pressures and all their social injustice to do. So this is my way of doing that. Many people try to stop me even what I am doing now, what I am doing today, but I don't even listen to them. It doesn't mean that I don't respect them. No, it doesn't mean I completely respect them, but I just let go of their ideas, of their opinion. What do they think? What do they say about me? I just don't care about them, but I still have the compassion and loving kindness for them because I know that I'm strong in my Shila, in my virtues. I understand the nature of impermanence, so I don't pay attention to them because today they are saying something, tomorrow they may change because everything is impermanent, right? I accept their behavior because they are born and brought up in a culture, they are born and brought up in a tradition. So I accept them, whatever they are, so that I understand them more. That whatever the background they have and they have come, maybe I also may have the same background if I was not a bhikkhuni or I did not have the Buddha's teaching in my life. So just I started accepting the people and it really helped me a lot. So this is all for today, ladies. I just want to stop my word here. I hope that you will start recognizing yourself. It will, my teachings will help you to recognize your suffering, the nature of your suffering, and get rid of those suffering and become strong, cultivate compassion and loving kindness, accept the things, knowing the and experiencing the nature of impermanence, and having yourself happiness, having happiness in your life. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Bhavatu sabba mangalam rakhantu sabba devata sabba buddhanubhavena dhammanubhavena sanghanubhavena sada suti bhavantu te. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Sadhu, 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 Yaji. Thank you for today's discourse. Yes, it's hard to let it go and accept what it is, but I think meditation helps us to go towards that path. And it's so thin line between those all feelings and let it go and expectation and anger. It's so thin line. But I'll open this session by if anyone wants to ask question, please raise your hand. Everybody accepted Mayaji. I don't see anybody hand.
That's great.
Yeah. I see, yeah.
People who don't have questions.
Yeah, no
Those
question.
who have understood anything or those who have understood everything.
Yeah. I think I see Shweta Bhalekar.
Halika.
Yeah, Shweta Bhalekar, you can unmute yourself and go ahead and ask question.
Can you hear me?
Yes, yeah, I can hear you. We can hear you.
So thank you, Ayaji, for such a wonderful talk. I did join late, but I could hear the summary the Ayaji has given the Dhammadeshna. I have a question here that, when it comes to women, there are a lot of barriers within the family, especially when it comes to following Dhamma path. Because maybe for men it is I would say a bit easily acceptable, but when it comes to women, it is a bit difficult to convince family in terms of when we are following Dhamma path. It could be making as simple as that if we are going to Dhamma Shivir alone or doing many shifts or getting more spiritual, those kind of things. So I would like some kind of guidance here from Ayaji, how to handle that kind of a situation.
I'm sorry, but I did not get your question clearly. Like some problems in families and they do not accept your spiritual growth or something.
Yes,
Can you make it
yes,
clear?
yes, yes. Yes, Sayaji. Yes, Sayaji. Yes. They, for them, for example, for them, if you follow the materialistic path, that, if you're earning more, or if you're building a house, or if you are buying a car, then only they see you successful, especially women. But when it comes to following the spiritual path, they don't see, I would say, the benefit of it. So how do you kind of make them understand that it is even, I mean, that is not comparable at all. The spiritual journey, the benefit you get, it is not at all comparable compared to the materialistic things for which you work so hard. So how do you make them understand, and how do you make them understand basically?
I think Shwetaji, if we think about Buddha's time, there was also at that time
Mm-hmm.
women were considered to be a materialistic thing, and when they have the good beauty and good jewelry and good clothes, and they are like princess or the queen, so they were considered good. But when it came to spiritual path, as we see that there were many ascetics and there were many communities, but nobody accepted women as an ascetic. But Buddha accepted that. So same mentality we have today, that when women make achievements in materialistic form, and when they are like making money and having good jobs and everything, so it is considered good. But when they are growing in spiritual, when they are going religiously, they are not considered, like the family especially, they are not considered good. right? Is
Yeah,
it the
right,
same?
right, Ayajay. Yes,
Yes.
right, right, Ayajay. Right, right. So I'm honestly speaking, kind of facing that challenge at my home. Last 2 years, I took a break from very good corporate career, and because I didn't find any meaning into it, and I did study Dhamma and did practice Vipassana, and so for example, last 2 years, I have grown myself a lot into Dhamma, the spiritual life. I'm Buddhist by caste, so though I have rejoined the corporate world, but I'm trying to make a balance. But when it comes to family, I get a lot of pressure, you know, that you have not moved
So
to the
I would,
ladder where you should have.
yeah, I would say that first of all, if we are growing religiously or if we are going in spiritual life, we are not doing that for someone to accept us. But still, if you are living in a family, because as a bhikkhuni, it was the same with us also. When I became a bhikkhuni, even my family did not accept, but now they are accepting it. Why? Because they see that I am happy. They are observing that I am happy in everything. Whenever I talk to them, whenever I visit them, so I'm always happy. I never complain about my life. So the first thing is that we are not doing it for someone to accept us, but if you are living in a family, so you may have some problems. But what I would suggest is that to get rid of these situations, if you are growing spiritually or religiously, it should be helpful to you also and to others also in your family, in your relatives, in your friends also. Like if I am growing alone in spiritual life or in religious life, if I am growing alone, I am happy, I have my mind stable, and I'm satisfied in my life. That is good for me. But someone may criticize me, someone may give trouble to me that I'm doing something wrong. But if I start teaching to other people, if I start helping other people, because you see, okay. Like you see, if you are earning money and if you are on a good post, if you are working, if you are earning, so you are helping someone because you have the money. So you are helping your child, you are helping your family, you are helping your husband in material form, right? So they are happy. But if you are growing spiritually, so you must help them in that like mentally. You must help them mentally, your husband, your family, your relatives, your friends. And when people will start feeling good when they are near you, when they will come to you for suggestion, for good life, for being happy, for a stable mind, when they will start coming to you, when they will start appreciating you, because now they are getting something from you. And now they know, and they will start. Now they will start respecting your choice. They will start respecting your spiritual life, your growth in spiritual life. But if you are doing it for yourself only, if you are not helping anyone from this, so of course they will criticize you. So what I just want to suggest, the first thing is that if you are living alone, for anyone, any women here, if you are living alone, then do not do anything just to prove someone, just to get approval from someone, or just to make someone accept you. You do whatever you like to do. You want to earn money, you want a worldly life, you want to live a worldly life happily, or if you want to become a nun or stay alone and do the meditation and grow in spiritual life, that's okay. But if you are living in family and you want to live a life of uh, like religious life or spiritual life, so just don't do it for yourself only. Do something for others also. Give something to others also. If you are learning good, help someone who are suffering. Your husband, your child, your parents, your grandparents, your in-laws, your sister-in-law, your friends, your relatives. Do something good for them. Just try to make them happy. Try to get rid of them their sufferings. Just let them overcome their sufferings, and they will be happy. Then no one will criticize you, and they will accept your life. They will accept your choice. I think this is the way we can do to make them accept us. Did you get it, Shweta ji?
She's on mute.
Just give something them. Give them something. Give them mental peace. Give them something which they need in their life. Let them overcome their suffering by your teachings, by your experience, and then they will be happy. They will accept your choice. They will start appreciating your choice.
Yes, I think she sent a message that yes, she understood. Thank you, Ayaji. It was good question. Yeah, it's often like it's not celebrated when we are in spiritual journey. Like it is so much hindrances around us, and
Yeah,
that's
it's happened because you see, when I was ordained, even my family did not accept me. But now, after 9 years, now they see that many people appreciate me. Even sometimes my Upasaka and Upasika, when they talk to my mother or when they meet my mother, they appreciate me a lot. That they got over their suffering, they overcome their suffering because of me, because of my teachings, because of being with me, and they feel very happy. So my mother feels proud that someone is overcoming their suffering, and my daughter is helping them to overcome their suffering. So now she is no more she doesn't criticize me or she doesn't stop me doing that. Now she's very happy. So just do something for anyone in the life, no matter whether you are material or you can do something materialistic in materialistic life or in spiritual life, but do something good for others.
Yes, thank you, Ayaji. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. It was so nice verbs. Anyone have question? Please raise your hand. I don't see anybody hands, Ayaji.
That's good.
That's good. Yeah, they clarify. Yes. Yeah. So thank you, Ayaji, for today's discourse. And we are having another session with Ayaji tomorrow. And this is really helpful to understand and accept it and let it go. It's very important, very, very simple words, but we need to practice that. And I may hope that whoever listening this discourse may walk towards the path of Dhamma. Thank you, Ayaji, for today's discourse. Yeah, I think you're mute. Yeah. So we are going to have another session with. Okay, we're going to have another session here. This one. Can you see my screen, Dada?
Yes, we can see your screen, but it's still trying to open.
This is the wrong screen. Wait a minute. So for today's session, we are having Jyoti Nisha. Are you here, ma'am?
Hi, yeah, I'm here,
Yes.
but I
Yes.
I don't see myself on the camera for some reason. I don't know.
Okay, you
I
can't
mean,
see
the
yourself?
camera is on. I think I can start the video, something like. Oh yeah.
Yes, yeah, got it. Yes. Welcome to Anna's online Vihara, Jyoti ji. We are glad to celebrate International Women's Day month with you. And I'll begin this talk with your introduction by showing this video. Are you able to see the screen, Dada?
Kalpana, we can see your screen, but it's still downloading.
Okay, I'll wait.
एक अच्छी महिला बुरी महिला कौन है?
The patriarchy that is operating in the lives of the Dalit women is very different from the patriarchy that is operating in the lives of privileged communities. This is a form of structural violence, and feminism doesn't really have an answer. After I created the LOSHA, which is the list of alleged sexual harassers in Indian academia, I feel that they disregarded my list even more so because of my Dalit Bahujan identity.
Sorry, Kalpana, it's not visible.
You're not able to see anything?
Yeah, that's correct. So can you stop sharing and then reshare again your screen?
Okay. Yes, yes, Dada. Yeah.
Yes, now I can see.
You can see the screen now? Okay.
Yeah.
Now can you see screen?
Yes, the presentation.
You can see presentation, okay.
Yeah.
Just hold on.
अच्छी महिला बुरी महिला
Can you see the screen?
कौन है?
Okay.
To show the desktop monitor.
So how do you do that? Wait a minute. Go down here.
Videos.
Yes.
महिला बुरी महिला कौन है?
Now we can see your YouTube screen.
एक अच्छी महिला बुरी महिला कौन है?
The patriarchy that is operating in the lives of the Dalit women is very different from the patriarchy that is operating in the lives of privileged communities. This is a form of structural violence, and feminism doesn't really have an answer. After I created the LOSHA, which is the the patriarchy that is operating in the lives of the Dalit women is very different from the patriarchy that is operating in the lives of privileged communities. This is a form of structural violence, and feminism doesn't really have an answer. After I created the LOSHA, which is the list of alleged sexual harassers in Indian academia, I feel that they disregarded my list even more so because of my Dalit Bahujan identity.
We've been using the term Brahminical patriarchy in Dalit feminist circles for years. The difference here was the white CEO of a major social media platform was holding up the signs of Brahminical patriarchy.
Earlier, when I started making this film, I didn't have a full understanding of caste and the structure of Indian society because my perspective was clouded by popular narrative.
Every day in India, 4.3 Dalit women are raped. 2 Dalits are killed every day, and crime against a Dalit is committed every 18 minutes. Caste is just not the problem of Dalits, but it is the problem of India.
If things went on the way they were supposed to for Ambedkar, I wouldn't have been telling this story because I would have found my representation. I would have been a different woman. And that's why I had to ask.
What will it take to annihilate caste?
Jyoti Nisha interview by one, take one.
Hi, my name is Jyotinisha and I'm a Bahujan writer and filmmaker based in Bombay.
ClickUp is an all-in-one project management tool that can literally do anything. And I mean anything.
அமைப்பாய் திரளாமல் எந்த ஆதிக்கத்தையும் வீழ்த்த முடியாது என்பதில் நான் உறுதியாக இருக்கிறேன். திராவிட இயக்கங்களோடு விடுதலை சிறுத்தை
एक अच्छी महिला बुरी
Can you hear me now?
கிறிஸ்து பிறப்பதற்கு முன் தோன்றிய உலக தத்துவவாதிகளில் மிக உயர்ந்த இடத்தை வகிப்பவர். புத்தரின் சமகாலத்தில் இருந்து ஏறக்குறைய கிபி 11ஆம்
Sorry
Hello?
about hello. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry about okay, sorry about the technical difficulties, but welcome here. And I want to introduce Jyotinisha. You don't need an introduction, but that's your work and it is so commendable. I feel like when I was looking at your video, like it was so beautiful accomplishment. As a woman, I feel so proud and like to celebrate you with us.
Thank you so much. Thanks a lot.
Sorry, wait a minute, my screen. Are you able to see my screen?
Yeah, it's just your name, but not any screen.
Let me see my screen.
Kalpana, do you want to share the screen? You want to show the presentation, something?
Yes.
Okay. So share the screen. Because currently you are not sharing anything. Means you are not sharing anything here. We are not able to see it.
Just wait a minute. Give me a minute. Just go and save documents. here, document. Yeah, this is the one. 2, 3.
Kalpana, do you want Jyoti, Nisha can start the presentation instead?
Yes, yes, that you just give me 1 minute, okay?
Okay. Yeah, we can see your
Okay,
screen.
now you can see I'm so extremely sorry about this. So we'll begin with the introduction that Jyoti Nishaji is a filmmaker, producer, and academician and a writer. She is renowned for pioneering the groundbreaking theory of the Bahujan spectatorship, which delves into the consumption and the spectatorship of popular cinema. She is dissecting its representation of caste, gender, and sexuality by India's marginalized population. Her work center on creating a distinctive opposition, socio-political Bahujan aesthetic deeply rooted in Bahujan lived experience, culture, history, movement, and ideology. Championed by the Bahujan filmmaker, she received her education in journalism from IMC Delhi, screenwriting from FTII Pune, media and culture study from TISS Mumbai. Nisha's journey includes serving as a director assistant to Neeraj Ghaiwan from the film Gillipuchi, with contribution to the numerous national and international publication and a role as a producing faculty with the Whistling Woods International. Dr. B.R. Ambedkar Now and Then is her debut feature-length documentary film, which was received rave reviews for its critical and grades. So welcome, Nisha ji, and I would request you to begin your talk with your caste, gender, and filmmaking. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much. Caste, gender, and filmmaking. Yeah, it's interesting, but it's interesting in the sense like, so I'm not going to do you want me to present anything so I can do that as well? Can I do that
Yes,
again,
yes,
right?
yes, yeah. You do.
One sec.
Yeah.
I've opened this. Yeah, sorry. Okay, but then
I think you need to
anyway.
make co-host, Dada. Can you make the co-host so she can share her presentation?
Yeah, so she's already co-host. She can present.
Yes.
So I'll have to share screen.
Yes.
Is it?
Share. Yeah. Share screen.
Okay, so I'll okay. Let's try this. Allow to share window. Is that so? Share. No. Uh-huh. Not this. No, it's showing the screen. 1 second. Can you see this?
Yes, we can see the previous screen where it says Bahujan Spectrum.
Oh, you can. Okay.
Yeah, we can see.
But then I can't see you guys. That's the whole problem. Yeah.
You can see us in the small window over there.
No, so no, that's what I'm trying to do. I'll just reduce the window size. Okay, but anyway, you can see. So first of all, I wanted to talk about So why I theorize this, I mean, and how it is relevant to uh, how filmmaking and caste and gender is represented in cinema. So for me, that question was very, very important. So and it began, and I'd like to tell a story. Probably it began with lots of things. When you are from the community, probably I think um, there is certain kind of stereotyping we always face, I think, in the sense like how, oh, you don't look like a scheduled caste person, or how do you speak English so well, um, or you dress too well for it, or something like that, you know. So, and also in relationships, I mean, you would say, and also in cinema. So for me, this interaction by from people from outside our community was very surprising, shocking. Sometimes it was hilarious and also disturbing. So this was like a very personal experience from um, in life. And then and so when I started making my film, um, then this idea of like I was personally also struggling with finding a structure of the film. I had never made the film. Like I'm a screenwriter, but making a film is very different. It's extremely expensive, and the director should really know what they're doing, unless otherwise, like, you can see if the film works or not. So and also you have to work with the crew together. So um, so it's like so you really need to know your things, actually, how you are, like, how what are you trying to say. And it was a story on Dr. Ambedkar as well. So um and yeah, so I shot the film for a couple of years, and then I was struggling to make the film. And uh, and then I felt like I need to study caste, just, I mean, what is caste? What is the structure of caste? How does it work? How it so deeply penetrated in our society and in the kind of images we see in cinema, how the kind of stories we hear and how people treat you. All of it, I felt like it was in some way connected, because I have gone to a film school and I've also studied journalism, and there's not really, nobody makes you understand how caste works, even in families also. Like, despite that I come from an Ambedkarite family, I did not really understand how does this work, but you are treated differently, and you don't know the reasons for it a lot of times if you don't know the history behind it. So I kind of, like, I was also not aware. So, then I went to TISS, and of course studied caste and other theories of various thinkers and philosophers like Noam Chomsky, or um, Bell Hooks, and um, or Althusser. And I'm not just throwing the names, but their ideas were extremely liberating. They had already understood society, and also understood caste. So when caste was taught, then obviously Dr. Ambedkar's um, um, caste mechanism and caste mechanism, genesis and development was taught by Professor Avati Ramaya, and at TISS, which was our foundation lecture. So it was like a completely different understanding of how caste works. When you understand the structure, then fighting with it, engaging with her is easier. When you don't understand the structure, then you're kind of also suffering, and you don't know the real reasons for it. Um, yeah, so it started with that, and I think when I struggled to make my film, but when I understood caste, then it became very easy for me to. It became easy for me as as a person from the community, and also having the experience of being told this ridiculous things, right? Like, you don't look like this or whatever. It's a certain kind of it's casteism, but it's like certain, yeah, casteism, racism, lots of things, and gender, how gender is also connected, and um, how you're looked at, and what kind of, who suffers in the system, who's in the jails, or whose story is being told, and lots of things. All of it is very connected. And are your people present in, first of all, media and cinema industry in the country? So the question of representation and how you're looked at really made sense to me. And I really related it with, like, I really do. I mean, I'll show the presentation as well, but because I understand this so well, so I'd rather make it more casual to have a conversation. Is this that? Um, so I theorized this paper theory, which is called as Bahujan spectatorship, and this happened because, um, um, like, there's also a story behind it. I was called as a moderator for a bunch of panelists, like very celebrated filmmakers, and they had made a film on caste, and I was asking them um, um, very straightforward questions about their process of making films. Do they understand? Have they met an activist? Do they understand caste? And do they understand the caste structure itself? How does it work? Lots of things. So then it became very um, um, it became very difficult to have this conversation because I was very critical, and it was almost like there were four panelists and I was the moderator, and I'm asking these questions: that what was your process? How did you make the film? Was it part of your story? Did you research about caste? So many things. And why have you represented? Why are you, like, why do you always, like, popular cinema also does is also post and pre-independent cinema in our country, since the time we have gotten independence, is this, that you are always shown as a victim. And like, and even women are represented and sexualized and fantasized, and there's certain kind of bodies, and there's an aesthetic to it, and of course it is connected with caste and also representation of people from our community. So so um so yeah, so I felt like, oh, I think, and it was a difficult conversation to have, and I really felt like, oh, they actually do not know our kinds of assertive Ambedkarite people who understand the structure, and why it is so important that you tell the correct right stories, and not only show them as victims of circumstance or hierarchy of caste. It's a very casteist, voyeuristic gaze, and clearly they don't understand that cinema, kind of like the fact that I resist cinema where people from the community, and even women, if they are like really sort of just represented it just to for violence. Like, there are shows which is just violent, and who are the people who are getting killed, what kind of leaders are getting killed, and so that those kind of choices a filmmaker always known, and it knows, and it is almost obviously it is like a product of ideologies of vichardhara, which we call in Hindi. So I really felt like probably I was so critical, and I really, and they were like, but okay, this is okay. At least this much has been done, that your stories have been told. But why are you not um, um, like, it was Article 15 actually, and why there was a scene in the film where they're talking about caste and subcaste, and the protagonist is a Brahmin NRI return guy, and he does not. The narrative of the film is such that he does not understand caste. Usko pata hi nahi hai kya hai, but he's from the top of the hierarchy. I mean, I felt like it's impossible, and it's obviously a very privileged person's gaze of telling the story of caste. Um, so yeah, I was just like asking these very particular questions about gays, that why are they just victims? Why isn't I mean, a police officer, why often a white or a Brahmin or an upper caste uh, person in position of power always wins in stories such as this, and people from the margins or women are always victimized. That's a very problematic gaze. I related it with there's this African American thinker. Her name is she passed away, Bell Hooks, and she talks about, she's a great feminist thinker. She talks about caste, class, intersectionality of that, love, lots of things, and popular culture. And she says that popular culture is where the pedagogy is, it's where the learning is, because you're watching these films and you're discussing it at your homes and family and friends, and you're discussing it in class. And so then in certain way you are very consciously also creating kind of like conditioning to have a certain kind of imagination for people and gender and people of color, people from the margins, or queer people, or sexuality, lots of all of these things. And so it's really important that the images that you see in cinema are also consciously created, because it really impacts the young generation. It's really, and also the thing is that this French Marxist philosopher Louis Althusser, he says that cinema is an ideological state apparatus. That means the kind of films that you see and are made are often funded by the state. It is allowed, and they allowed to censor what, tell what is given, what kind of certificate, and that kind of control is little bit. Of course, you need it, but then at the same time, it is so much to create a certain kind of cultural identity, push a certain kind of a discourse. Um, so it's also that. So, and then you consume cinema very privately. You watch it on your phone, you go to theaters and the light is off, and or you're watching at home with family, and you have this experience which is very private, but very intimate, and but very personal. And it is often is peddling and image telling stories and images which are extremely political and um, sort of, I mean, mass media is a tool of propaganda. So mass media and cinema and literature, all of it is part of it. So we really need to kind of understand the kind of cultural context that it is being made, what kind of stories are being made. So the stories that are being made are ultimately are going to be discussed, because primarily somebody has funded that, and it has been funded, or something which you see on Doordarshan, or the cinema that you comes to your theater on OTT. It's obviously it's a business model as well. But when the state makes it uh, I mean, state is anyway involved, but when the state gives a certain kind of discounts, or there's always certain kind of thinking that's working for or against, and that really depends on the ideology of the state, irrespective of where you are, like whether you're in India or US or whichever country. It's always like mostly media. I mean, especially US model and of the media and Indian model of the media is pretty much similar in that sense. Um, so so you are consuming cinema, which is ideological cultural apparatus, which an ideological cultural apparatus, Louis Althusser defines it. They are like, it's mass media, it's literature, it's a cinema, it is sports, like cricket. Cricket is really big. So you have to really connect, like, who is the bigger star in your country, and why are they the bigger star, or who's getting these bigger opportunities, who are the stories, who are the protagonists in the films that you're seeing. So all of it is so connected with the idea of funding. All art and even scientific endeavors, they just cannot happen if it's not funded. So the power structure really decides what is the discourse, what are you going to be fed, what is your idea of nationality, nation, nationalism, patriotism, the kind of women that you see, that the kind of men that you see, and whose stories are being told. And so it is all a very, I mean, of course, it's a reflection of society in some sense, but at the same time, it is so much controlled, and like the just it's just not the making of it, it's the distribution, like where are you able to see it. So where that's where like OTT, or like who gets the deals, basically who easily gets those um, deals. And it varies from country to country as well, but mostly the structure is the discourse. Any kind of social political discourse in any country is constructed by media and cinema, and I mean mass media, all of it, radio, television, print, you name it. And it is often it has to do with advertising. This is Noam Chomsky's formula of the five filters. Who owns the discourse? Like who are the owners of these media houses, and the exhibitions where you where like an OTT, like a Netflix or Prime or Geo Hotstar, whatever, all of these, and they have different policies. And who for advertises, who's advertising, so that the advertisers are funding this cause. And then politicians and executives are always involved, like they are like the HODs of all, or the CEOs of all these media houses and production houses. They have to work in tandem with the state, otherwise they cannot create, they don't have the power. um, and they create a common enemy, so there's always somebody to blame at, which could be anybody, call them anti-national or Maoist or anything. I mean, lots of things, terrorist. There is somebody to be blamed. It's a clear design. And whoever is talked about, it's sort of shut down. So in some ways, or is controlled, and the narrative is controlled, tried to control, or your the quality, or the like they will completely disown your power. So the system works like that. So I kind of like, for me, the why I'm talking about all of these things is this is how it is in that's how media works and cinema works. But this is very social, political, theoretical point of view I'm talking about. This was not taught to me in journalism school, but I understand it now, or even in cinema, film school. I understood it kind of a little in tests. Then so I'd theorized this theory, Bahujan spectatorship, taking back to that story where, like I was questioning very critically about caste and representation, and why people are always suffering, or they're like in poor jobs, because it's, Dr. Ambedkar's this thing idea also, no, it's caste is not division of labor, it's a division of laborers. So clearly those jobs are in some way or the other in the films are also replicated in that, with that same kind of um, aesthetics, or not just aesthetic, but just the same core value system is replicated. And it's also related with male gaze and Brahminical gaze, and in the West it is more to do with white male gaze, and which is the structure of cinema, where men are in position of power, white men in position of power, women are not in position of power, women are just the objects of um, sexuality, fantasy, not intelligent, not very intelligent women. So those stories are not there. So again, this comes back to funding. So yeah, so I theorize this Bahujan spectatorship, which is basically in resistance. We are resisting this kind of images, or this kind of typecasting, or stereotyping, and you're interrogating, you're questioning that why is popular cinema is only telling these kind of stories? Why don't they tell very assertive, strong stories from people from the margins, which includes Bahujan community, but also like minorities, Muslim people, for example. So you don't get to hear those stories because obviously you don't have the funds, and the system doesn't work like that. So she talks about this idea of black spectatorship, where and she relates to this episode where when black people were working in the fields, and if they tried to look back, like they were supposed to look down and not look back. If they looked back, then the white people punished them. because they looked back, they made an eye contact, and that was basically opposing the power. So for longest time, till the time, then this was really dark, when black people were treated as property. So this is the mothers basically told their children that don't look back at white people, otherwise you'll be punished. So, but you will be looking back because it's a very natural reflex. Every human beings would want to look back, and so I kind of related with this idea of punishment, of looking back, and power was very. I connected it with caste in some sense. It felt like, oh, clearly um, it's a very similar experience. So she talks about it this that black spectatorships is basically black people consuming popular cinema, and what is their experience of consuming that cinema? How do they feel about what is their experience? Do they feel that the people who are represented in any film where black people are represented, let's say it's not Morgan Freeman or Viola Davis, but not so they are black people who are popular, and they have made it. But if they look back at the stories, also, like, it's the same thing, like, you will see black people always, they're like, they're poor people, they're help, they're driver, they're like sex worker, something. Rarely you have seen. I mean, it is comparatively more in the West than it is in Bombay, in Bollywood, or in Indian cinema, so much so. Um, so she's just talking. So what is your experience of when you see caste represented? Do you feel that, oh, they know your stories, or do you feel that they're always telling stories of victimization, or um, discrimination, or certain kind of a gaze where you're always, um, you know, your bodies are violated, or you're punished, or you die in the end, or you're killed in an encounter. Those kind of punishment, very systematic, structural punishments, uh, which I mean, prisons, and um, which is designed, or mental asylum that's designed. So, like, if you see those kind of fates that are meeting to people from the margins of, when you say Dalit community has been represented, how do you feel about it? I felt always repulsed. I felt like, oh, they don't know. They really do not know. Like, I've no, besides Paranjit's film or Nagaraj's film eventually, but Paranjit's film has a heavy symbolism of Buddhism, and Dr. Ambedkar or Phule or Periyar also. But before him, like, I don't remember I have seen much of that kind of symbology in Indian cinema on a silver screen. So Bahujan spectatorship, Bahujan comes from Buddha's Bahujan Hitai, and Bahujan Sukhai forms the 85% population of the country, according to Sahib Kanshiram. And spectatorship is your experience of people from the margins, their experience of consuming popular cinema, which is 100 years of cinema, whenever the caste has been talked about or discussed, or how women have been represented. And and it documents the consumption of yours, of consumption and experience of how you are experiencing cinema, and what is your gaze. And also it rejects the Brahminical representation of caste and people from the margins and women. So in a Brahminical aesthetic, it is mostly, you're always a victim of caste, and what like I talked about, for example, Satyajit's Ray Sadgati, uh, um, adapted by Munshi Premchand's Sadgati, short story that he wrote. But it's a similar imagination. It's again a story of a victim, and the character's name is Dukhi. Uh, so I was like, okay, sure, I will not write a character whose name is Dukhi. I will tell a story. Possibly. So I felt like, yeah, surely this kind of a gaze where you're victim of circumstance always is is a very Brahminical gaze, and they have no idea of, and it is not it is not, how do I say, it is not indicating of somebody's social location, but it is indicative of the ideological positioning of the filmmaker. And yeah, and it shows the aesthetic. So from, if they are looking at people from the margins who are always the victims of the circumstance, their bodies are violated or they've been extremely sexualized, um, then it is a certain gaze which is, you know, very upper caste male gaze, always. And I think that was not my experience because I come from a Buddhist Ambedkarite family. So it was always a very critical, rational gaze. And I was, um, you know, you have to, cinema should be capable, and we should be able to tell stories of people, human beings who are thinking and who are doing other things also besides this. This is one kind of a gaze. Uh, because even when you make and write, also they ask for crime thrillers, or you know, and they work also because they work very viscerally. We are made of these five senses, so we really absorb that much of negativity. Something like Big Boss works and all. So it has also to do with the, I think, ideological positioning and business model of the filmmaker. But mostly ideological positioning is very easy to tap into because it's a very structural gaze. It is not very personal about a filmmaker or a school. It's more of like a school of thought. So I felt like if I have to find people from the margins, scheduled caste, or women from the community, then I really do not have the imagination, similar imagination that I have grown up seeing in cinema. And so yeah, so I felt like it's a, I mean, and so my stories obviously had Dr. Ambedkar in it, or obviously had Buddhism in it, because that is what is my lived experience, and this is something you do not see in cinema. So so for me, I felt like, oh, I have to now, if I have to create my epistemology, my methodology has to be something that, how do you look for people from the margins, and you you have to sociopolitically locate who has said what about and what was your history, and no better than, um, you know, our icons and Dr. Ambedkar. So I think the epistemology changed. So for me, the spectatorship, Bahujan spectatorship, is about, um, you know, resisting and interrogating the question of how people from the margins are represented, women how represented, what is their position of power, like what kind of characters are they actually, and also obviously, and if it is doesn't connect, then surely it does not have a connection, and it holds true for, like, I think really 100 years of cinema. Caste has been represented, but it is more of like a class perspective, and it has so much to do with the it has so much to do with the, Dr. Ambedkar has talked about this, you know, this idea of this. So, one second. Can you see this? So these are the people, like, these films are like, they were always broken people. Sujata in this film also, like, she's adopted by a Brahmin family, but she's almost treated like a caretaker. Here this person dies, or like he dies hungry because he's overworked. And in Ankur, this is an upper caste man, he impregnates this woman, and probably her husband is like a mute and deaf person, and this one is latest one, Madam Chief Minister. I mean, you can just see the gaze itself, the name, the character holding, like it's just such a problematic caste, I don't know, signaling or symbology. Um, and Chauranga, you like, it's again a Brahmin man. He's married and he's also having sleeping with his wife, with his maid help, who's obviously a Dalit woman, and she's dark skinned, and she dies in an accident, and her body is sort of like just tossed in the river. So like what kind of people are dying in stories. It's really important. So these are the stories that you see. So like yeah. So this, yeah. So for theorizing Baujan spectatorship, I also saw that my experience of um, being a person from the community was very different from what I have grown up seeing. And this is what Dr. Ambedkar's quote like really distills it for me. And it's like Indians today are governed by two different ideologies. The political ideal set in the preamble of the Constitution affirms a life of liberty, equality, and fraternity, and the social ideal embodied in their religion denies them. So it was very true for like a film theory also. and and in that imagination you see, like if you look at Indian national movement and you see Gandhi leading this Dandi march, and all of this is happening between 1920 to 30. I think this is 30s. And so there was like a word, one Swaraj, a Gandhian imagination of India, which you'll see in most films. And then this was also happening. Dr. Ambedkar was leading Mahar Satyagraha. There was temple entry happened. He published these many newspapers. This imagination of India, I did not see. So for me, like it was very difficult to relate with any kind of film theory. So other than that, then yeah. So Baujan spectatorship was like to really tap into this, that what I have been told for so many years, for so long, and and but like your histories, it has existed parallelly, um, but it's not represented in cinema as your history. You're always on the sidelines. So Baujan spectatorship looks between production of knowledge and practices of power, a relationship between ideology and ideological state apparatus, and it also looks at and in understanding the popular gaze of Indian cinema. This I've already explained, right? Like who's producing, and practices of power is like funding is power basically, and who's producing from what social location, and privilege as well will say so much about, and that includes the state, not only people. So the whole structure you need to understand, and relation between ideology and ideological state apparatus, which is I explained already. It's like cinema and art, media, literature, radio, television, newspaper. They are all ideological state apparatus, and they're more cultural ideological state apparatus. So cinema is more of like a cultural ideological state apparatus, which affects you at a very private level. And it really, like, just think of it, we talk about films with very passionately, and we remember stories. No better way to really ideologically and condition human beings than to tell stories. uh, so so this idea of traumatic relationship with gays, like I talked about, when you look back they were punished. And there is this another framework of oppositional consciousness and the standpoint theory by Sandra Harding. And she says that all knowledge is socially situated. That means whoever is telling whatever kind of story, they're telling from their own personal social location. And if they can separate the ideology, then it's a different thing. But all knowledge is created by your own personal experience. And people, and funding decides scientific questions. She also says that funding decides scientific questions. So if you're not funding what you really want to be seen in your lifetime, then let's not talk about it, because the system is not ours. um, and she talks about this oppositional consciousness, which is basically that during, basically people who are resisting whatever is the popular discourse of any country at certain point of times, and they are resisting because of their own very unique personal experience, whether it's because of caste, race, uh, sexuality, colonialism, poor people, or the correct scientific methods also. No, when you're resisting that, oh, I don't agree with this in in its foundation itself. So that kind of consciousness was, especially I saw this happening truly in our people in our country since 2014. where we saw these kind of images, these people were like resisting. This is Dalit Asmita Yatra, this is Rohit and Chandrasekhar Azad. There was also, so this Dalit Asmita Yatra was led by Jignesh Mevani. So lots of things, and this idea of like caste and communal, how Muslims are represented, women's identity, sexuality, all of this has been represented, and it's been very like skimmed through, but nobody's like sincerely answered, tried to delve into these questions, because again you'll come back to the structure of Brahminical patriarchy and the structure of caste. So these people, while this guy was there and he was also there, and this one is uh, what is his name? I'm forgetting his name. Phalke, Dada Saheb Phalke. He's the father of Indian cinema, and his main contribution to the Indian national movement was that Swadeshi movement was his contribution to cinema. That he got the pictures basically. So which was like, and Phalke through the 30s and the 50s. So also Congress is, at this point of time, is in power. So this like they did this Swadeshi. He contributed majorly cinema, like Indian film industry has a significant contribution to the Swadeshi movement. So everything, like it was a Gandhian imagination of the nation that we saw. Like he saw origins and broken people, or never really critically discussed caste as Dr. Ambedkar could have. So these themes like identity, nation, nationhood, nationalism, realism, they have been constantly been invoked in the pre and post independent cinema, and these are these films. Like, here you're talking about class struggle and capitalism and poverty and the coming of the machines, and the times are changing. It's just right after independence. So what's happening, like modern, like people are also leaving villages and stuff and coming to the cities. So yeah, Sadhgati Sujata again. So given this background that we have had pre and post independence cinema constantly um, producing stories and images which are um, they really convey the ideology of the state, which could be Gandhian or Brahminical, then it really becomes important that because it's not wasn't my experience. I was like, whose gaze is that? Like, who really decides, like, that this is the story? These kind of stories work. They should be funded, and like, there's a whole system and industry that exists for it. And why it was like different, very oppositional to my experience. So I felt like, oh, this really needs to be told to people that what I have grown up seeing is not exactly my experience. It's a very different imagination of, especially when it comes to caste and women representation. Also, there are more men in the industry, so naturally, it's also very male gaze centric. So, but anyway, so in 1983, Girish Karnad was like talking about that if you want to go to know a real India, and you cannot get it from an Indian, you cannot get it from an Indian who lives in the city. You have to go to a village. And now, so my grandparents were farmers, and my father left the village and he came to the city, and and obviously the caste atrocity and discrimination and was much more rampant. And but like what you see in the films, it's a very romantic idea of the village, but what you see in Sadgati, probably like it is a representation of a village life, but again still the gaze remains, like it is still a story. Good that the story was told, but it is the gaze, like probably it worked for that time, but like it's still a story of a victim, which is just recycled mostly. So they have, so both of them had a very different, Gandhi and Ambedkar had a very different imagination of this nation, obviously, and experience of the nation. And that's the kind of stories that we see in cinema and art and journalism, press, whatever. So one really needs to question, then I really question this, that is there really a Bahujan gaze through which Bahujans engage with Indian cinema? And is there a Bahujan female gaze, like how women from the community engage with the women that were represented in Indian cinema, and what is their experience of as spectators when they consume the cinema. Yeah, and then okay, yeah, I'm almost. I'm done. Like then you've already seen the, what do you say? Um, already seen the trailer of the film. So yeah. So it's just, so basically the idea is that, is there really a Bahujan case? Of course, it really exists. It is interrogative. It questions, resist the typecasting and discriminatory images of people from the community. So I think if I have to look to at people from our community, then I'd rather go go with the kind of history that I have grown up listening to.
Yes,
That's
yes,
all.
yes.
Yeah.
It is always like disconnect with this movies and the way the shows goes. It's always felt like that.
Yeah.
And with this note, like Jyoti ji, I would like, I have jotted down some questions, but your presentation covered everything what I would like to ask you. But in this field, like it is so male oriented, it is so caste oriented field. How do you overcome with the challenges? Like you face this, how do you overcome with this? Because something it is sometimes I think it is also life threatening. So how do you come with this challenges? How do you deal with that?
See, I think, I mean, as a person, how I am, I like challenges. So, yeah, I feel like, okay, because the desire of telling stories is so hard, so strong. And I really, at least personally, I can only speak for myself. It's really strong. I've chosen to do this out of my choice, and I know the challenges. I also know I have urged whenever I have met organizations, especially, and because I know some of them know me also. I have really urged them because I understand it um, by the dint of its structure, how it is made. And if we as Ambedkarites, I think, really need to do anything, then really, honestly, it's really the stories that have all the wisdom, and they really need to be funded for what you want to see. So for me, making my first film was really very challenging, and Anna has helped me as well, and the other organizations have helped me as well. But the reality is this, that what you cannot talk about things that you cannot see, and that's what cinema does. That's why it's so powerful. You can enough write about it, literature, and grateful that it's been written as well, because we anybody can really go back to that. Our history has existed, and people have really documented that experience. But I think the biggest challenge is the funds, and it's the funds for any artist or any new thinker, or even scientific inquiries cannot happen if you don't have the funds for it. So I think, so I because it's an institution. Cinema is an institution. It's not one filmmaker cannot in their own capacity just do some magic. It's a whole industry, and it treats you differently, especially when you are going to stand up against it. It's almost like you're going to war, you know. And
Yeah, yeah.
no, really, it is exactly like that. I'm sure there are a lot of people who like me, but I'm sure there are a lot of people who absolutely dislike me for how vocal I am or how much I know, or, and it's okay. That's their journey. My journey is very different, but I think as a community, I really think that because the movement is also not about one person. It's not about one icon or one organization. It's a very collective process, and it needs funds, it needs support, and truly I feel like the intention has to be really really honest. Otherwise, I think intention is first, is like intention is action. If you really decide to do something. So I think for me, it is mostly, I don't like, I'm not scared of any challenges. I'm pretty fearless as a person. Because because my intention is not to sensationalize or to really make hold people accountable, but to also educate, because that's more powerful than creating any kind of drama. And it works very, very differently for women, uh, like any other field. But it's much, much more challenging. The film
Yes,
industry is
I think
extremely
this.
challenging.
Yes. Also, their whole like identity as a Ambedkarite, as a Buddhist, a lot of, even we have people who hide their identity. They
Yeah.
don't come. Yes. So that stigma, like that, why you're not proud of yourself, like, so that one, like, it's always bothers me whenever I see the movies. Like, as a woman, I always feel why it is always dabi kuchi mehla, why it is not, why I'm not a hero of the film, like why it is always suppressed and always consuming whatever coming. So it's always, that narrative is always there, and I think that focuses our society, how it is their mindset. That's what you said. uh, so I'll open question. There is a question and answer session. I'll open up that. I see the Ravi Kiran Shinde's hand. Go ahead, Ravi.
Jai Bhim, Nisha. Thank you very much for coming and giving your time. Really appreciate all that you have done, especially in the world of cinema. As you mentioned, the movie makers have been showcasing our people, our stories with Savarna gaze, and we have been criticizing that in various forums. And I see some change. It's a lot of time to go, but I see some change with movies like Kathal and The Hard, where we see Dalit female leads, powerful leads with powerful characters,
Yeah.
which is a result of all that you, Neeraj, Nagraj, Paranjit have done, and that's something very, very appreciated. So other people are also trying to showcase our stories, and they know that the problematic scenarios can be criticized, so they are trying to course correct. It's still a long way to go, but that's what I wanted to point out. Another thing, I had a question about how did the Ajib Dastan happen with Neeraj Ghaiwan, because it was one of the milestone movies where it showed caste, sexuality, and other things, and it was so beautifully made. Just wanted to hear a couple of things about how did it happen and some experience, because Konkana Sen Sharma also said in the interview that that was one of the best characters she even played. So I know you assisted Neeraj on that short film. Some experiences I would like to know, please. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for the question. With Neeraj, I think he was looking for, I think in 2020, he did tweet that he was looking for to work with people from the community, and I heard about it quite later on, but I contacted him. And yeah, and then I worked with one more project with him, but that didn't happen. But then he called me for this, and I had already theorized Bahujan spectatorship by now, so I had a really great grasp of, what exactly I had to do. And I'm also a person who's very who's assertive. Like, I mean, I'd like to see characters with real integrity and mm, not be ridiculed or just made a, I don't appreciate that kind of gaze of filmmakers. So yeah, Neeraj, I had and Neeraj met, and he knows, he also was aware of my temperament, and he was also writing. I mean, this story was written by Sumit Saxena, and he wrote three of the stories of these anthology of the top three stories, and the third one was Neeraj's. Um, when the script came to me, I really could understand the characters very, very well, that, and also the agency of women, how it is, the agency of women from a Dalit Bahujan background is very different from the agency of a upper caste woman who might have the materialistic privileges but would not have a real voice. So that's it's something I have observed, you can say, in life, and all of us are sort of aware of. So when the script came to me, I really really made sure that because we did script pre-production and script reading, and so I made sure. I mean, it was I felt like it was a responsibility also to sort of create a. Obviously, I mean, it is Neeraj's direction, but wherever possible, I voluntarily said that, oh, you cannot do this. You should do this. This will stereotype the character. Like something, two, three things were like, for example, was like one of the suggestions from a makeup person that they should, because this is a Bharti model's character, she's a factory worker, so let's give her black nails, like वो मतलब मैल जमा होना है nails में. So I was like, why? Like, can a person who's from a factory worker or a poor background, can they not have hygiene? You know, it's also a certain kind of stereotyping, or like a suggestion came that there should be a black thread that should be given to Konkana's character, Bharti Mondel's character. I was like, no, you absolutely cannot do it, because it's actually a marker of segregation. And so I understood the characters were very different. Obviously, they came from a different cultural, social background, and that was my job to define, that very distinctively what was their cultural background. It was on the script in some level, but to really make a film out of it, it needs a lot of references. So naturally, I called friends, family in Kanpur, because earlier the story was set in Kanpur. That, like, this is like a probably like a security guard or like a factory worker. This is the character. उसका घर कैसा होगा, मतलब this is, and the single woman who's living there. So this was my brief to people who were even taking pictures, or an upper caste woman who's from a lower middle class background and they live in a chawl, तो उनका घर कैसा होगा. तो उसके, we got real photos of that was given to production designers. So then the building the set was much more easier, because it came from real references. Very, very little nuances. The food that they were eating. Stories set in Kanpur, North India. So surely she's not going to eat a dosa. She's eating bhindi, you know. So these kind of the stereotyping of the character was something I really uh, made sure that it's not stereotyped. It's an assertive. And people are assertive, right? Like, people are assertive. Money has nothing to do with having an integrity, right? Like, I have seen that in my life. So for me, that this person, the character, had to have an integrity, and obviously this also performance of being a liberal that you see with upper caste friends and people in communities was also very, very real. So it was informed by these kind of examples I gave to both the actors. And with Konkana, we rehearsed dialogues, and I was also like worked as a dialect expert. So it was also, because I'm from Lucknow, actually from UP. So वो लहजा, the way they're talking and the words, like, she's not saying कि महीना चल रहा है, महावारी हो रही है, menstruation. So those were very, very, very peculiar nuances that we gave, and yeah, it kind of like really shows in the film.
Yeah, it was one of the good assertive short film we saw. I think I had a question from Mahendra. I saw his hand raised. Mahendra, yes? If you have a question, please raise your hand.
Yeah, so before Mahindra comes in, thank you, Nisha, for that answer. Just one final question. So this initiative
Can
by
we
Neeraj,
open the camera, please? Because I feel like I'm talking to these screens, not people.
so just one
I mean, if
final
it,
question.
sure, yeah.
The Neeraj's initiative of like you mentioned, which you responded to, is he still actively asking people for his next projects, or what is the situation right now? Did
I
he get?
don't know. I have
Did
no
he?
idea.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. Because it's just you just work on project. It's not we're not like friends or something. It's work, strictly.
Yeah, I have another question from Govindji that's on the chat. That what symbolic impact arises when upper caste women portray Dalit women's lived experience on screen, like Radhika Apte is made in heaven, and how do you see ease of production of such symbolic representation compared to otherwise possibilities?
It's problematic for sure, but like it's a really a directorial choice and also producer's choice because yeah, you sell like either you need to have like I think in the industry you need to have like stars or I think that the way Bombay works, it's you need to have like a known face or a acclaimed performer. But I think it has more to do with the directorial choice. And I think directors should be, I mean, it's not necessary, but they should, if they can, sometimes they're not in that position of power, I think so also. But if they can, they must try to cast people from the community. But it's very subjective actually, because you need an actor who's a performer, who gives you a good performance. That's very important. So I don't know. Again, like I said, like you guys also mentioned, there are a lot of people who don't identify as, you know, people from the community. So it's also that as well.
Okay, and I have another question from Sunita Shambarkar. Why don't we see our women warriors and social reform stories in film?
Funding, it's all about funding, money. It's an institutional, I mean, you should see it like even in my presentation, I said like Falke made an effort. He contributed to the Swadeshi movement. His whole idea of, you know, bringing cinema to the country and getting the films made, it must be a struggle for them also, but they did it. And it's a very real question. It's a very real question. It's expensive. Cinema is very, very expensive medium. So, and clearly if you know like you're not from that caste background, then it's really difficult. It's challenging. And yeah, and it's also difficult a little bit more for the women more than it is for men, you know, because you're patriarchy, yeah, you know, it's it's like that. It's a real fact. I mean, we cannot talk about something that we can really not walk about. You know, you should be able to talk the walk, and you want to see change, do it. Like, please be my guest. Try to make a film, and you will know what I'm talking about. Because first of all, it's not. I mean, everything ultimately, you may have the talent, you may have a story. You don't have the money. Oh, nobody's coming actually because it's work. People, this is like really you're going to work and it's artists really suffer also because it's a very unorganized industry as well. So it's I mean you yeah, I mean somebody like Ranjit and Vetrimaran, they're at another level, but it's also they, you know, the state supports them in some sense, or they have, you know, their systems involved at that level. So it's a different thing. Like ultimately, it is just about, I don't know, if you want to see the change, you'll have to do something for it, I think so. And it's a collective effort.
Yes, it is. Mahendra Ji, I can see your hand raised. You can ask your question, please.
All right, excellent. Thank you. Jai Bhim all, and a very informative talk. So, unfortunately, movies and TV media has way too much of an influence on Indian audience as an educational influence, and unfortunately, as we all know, it is getting abused by for setting the narratives, biased narratives, uh, and as you mentioned, that okay, at times by state support as well. Some of the projects we can name very easily, Kashmir Files and Kerala Files and all those things. These are very bright examples. But what worries me more is that okay, the projects which are kind of setting up the subconscious or hidden agenda, which are not really really uh, uh, kind of obvious, but kind of subconsciously they are setting those agendas that okay, then that's far more influencing the masses. Like the honest and strong character police officer is always of certain caste, and corrupt ones always have Baba Sahib Ambedkar's picture behind them. And when corrupt parties are always shown with the flag of shades of blue, this is kind of this has got a deep impact in setting the narratives and influences. And obviously, there are efforts happening to reverse or we counter these narratives, but I think the difference of the scale is not in proportion, obviously. So so now again, here is a uh, maybe naive question that okay, maybe more collaboration between our filmmakers, Nagraj, Neeraj, yourself, and Paranjit, more collaboration. Do you think that okay, that will help us produce the required content? Now that most of you have names and audience, when these people come together and put together a project, I think the more and more people, Bahujan people, will take note of that and will be able to provide the required viewership. So what do you think about that?
You need to ask them. I mean, I don't know. All these people, they should ideally, people from our community should also be together and marching on the same cause from different states, and but we treat each other very differently because we human beings are very insecure beings. First of all, then there has to be very uh, structural, I don't know, not policies, but structural facilities or platforms that need to be created. I think so. So, but sure, but most artists also like to work independently. Like Vetri Maran and Ranjit are not working together. Ranjit makes his kinds of films. Vetri Maran makes his kinds of films. Neeraj makes his kinds of films. Nagaraj makes his kinds of films. So surely, I'm sure we if we meet together and hang out, and there'll be something like yeah, we'll work together. But it's just a conversation. It's what I'm talking about is that I'm talking about structural, institutional support that the community has to think. We are a lot of it. We are in different countries, and somebody really needs to start thinking uh, that you also need to fund the discourse. I think, in some sense, because it's a tiresome job for filmmakers or artists to keep creating, and because art has never sustained itself on its own. There have always been patrons who has sustained the art in any context. So it's not going to sustain just because somebody has the desire to create. It is going to sustain when you have the clear mechanisms, structural mechanisms and institutions that it moves like a great well-oiled machine. And yeah, I think that's the this is something I've suggested to a lot of organizations that that this needs to happen, probably do with children's films, student films. But you really want your discourse to move and or probably be part of a film festival as an organization, like a tasveer or something. I don't know. There are lots of things international level pe. Ab baat, the thing is, we are talking about, we want an impact. An impact is not created. It's not like something that is going to go viral one night. Impact is like it's you build for that, you prepare for that, having that impact. And this impact happens at very, very, I mean, at least in my field, cinema and media, I know these happen at very, very big film festivals where there are really big change makers who are sitting in those spaces, and they take note of what are you talking about, the story that you want to tell. Why don't you have that funding? So which is what like grants help filmmakers, but I think an institutional support, because cinema isn't also an institution, it is supported by the state. They have broadcasting channels. So it's like that, and within which this, I think we hope that we should do that, but it's gonna take time. But at the same time, it has to have a collective effort, because it really does train. Cinema and I mean, all of these apparatus, they really condition you. You cannot escape it, for sure. You'll have to find some other way to engage yourself, focus yourself somewhere else. Find other ways of entertainment. But this is going to stay. It's going to stay for sure. This is not going out unless societies are exist. The modes will change, the mediums will change, but people are telling stories on Instagram also. But again, like the kind of impact you want to have, then there are really very, very authoritative, powerful people sitting in position of powers who are really deciding the discourse.
Yes, yes, well said. Yes, yes, Jyoti ji, I have how do you motivate new coming generation in this field? We have so less women. I can barely see one woman who is a producer in filmmaking and interviewing them. But how do you encourage the new generation to come up? Also, I have the another thing to ask you. When I see the hidden figures, when they see us, that narrative stories and that non-fictional story, which is like how as a community we can come up with some good strategy and trying to uh, uh, try to publish this kind of stories. First thing that, and other, would you like to share the screening? Like um, we have a student in universities, like we can do the screenings over there. How do you, because we have our students platform in various university. Would you like to give a little bit idea, like how can we screen your movie there, or how we can be loud about it? How can we do that?
Yeah. Okay. My screening is basically, I usually, there's a screening fee for it, for each screening. And usually, and they invite you, and I give them a private link with password protected link to the film, and they can screen it in their, I mean, that link is active for whatever time that they want to screen the film for, and then that link is inactive. So there's a process to it. I mean, whoever want, and I've screened at so many places in some universities already. But it'll be great if this happens more, because it's very educational. Not because it's my film; it's a great film anyway. But it's still it's pretty educational, and it's it needs to be seen. I mean, and because it's also like, it's not like a feature. Um, it's a feature length documentary. It's not fiction. The way the market of fiction works, non-fiction works, is this that non-fiction. India does not have a market for non-fiction. Actually, India has a market for fiction. Internationally, you have a market for non-fiction. It's a reality. So that's why because I, as an independent filmmaker and producer, I have invested time, money to make the film. So obviously, I feel like it's a legitimate thing to ask for a screening fee wherever it is screened. I have also, I've sold the educational rights of this film to Stanford already. So it's also that can also happen. To the young generations, I think again, like I think they are already in it and they really want to make the. I mean, see, I think you just need to have the intention. Like I said, for me, like challenges is है तो है अभी क्या कर सकते हैं. They exist, but it's not going to stop me from not, like I'm not going to start I can teach which I do anyway, but I don't think so I'm going to start I'll open a boutique and start selling clothes tomorrow. No, that's not happening, for me. Like I have to do this. So whatever resources they have in whatever time, I think if the ultimately if you have a great story and you have a sense of how do you want to tell it, just tell it. Make a film on your phone and tell it, edit it. There are enough softwares online and you can. So because first you need to know what kind of a storyteller you are, or if even if it's not that, just try to make a film, try to make 5-minute film, and then you'll know like, oh, this can be fun also, or this is very challenging also. So I think it's in the act of doing it. um, but agar if you want to make professionally sound, aesthetically sound, good production value wala film, then you obviously have to raise funds and prepare for it. And it's like they can be in another lecture on the screenwriting and filmmaking. But yeah.
Do you conduct any workshop or anything like that? So
Yeah, I do. I teach nonfiction. I taught in Whistling Woods. I teach Bahujan Spectatorship. I've taught in several universities.
okay.
I do workshops also with media practitioners, artists, students, anybody.
So do you look for any particular age group for that, or it is for anybody?
No, I mean, it can be done for children also, but mostly adults, like mostly 18 plus, so that they can engage. I mean, yeah, they can engage with these questions. But I mean, for younger students, it'll be like a different model. Can talk about the same things, but it'll be like a different model, make it more lighter for them.
So how
But
do you advertise that? Like, if you want to enroll our kids, or anyone from internationally wants to enroll their kids or give
they
them
can
the
create like a
platform.
Google form and they can just like fill it up and they can
Okay.
pay the fee for an application. Like if they want to do that, I mean, to do that. And it's exhausting. Teaching is pretty exhausting.
Yeah, I
It's,
myself a teacher. So
yeah, it's
yeah,
just
and
like,
yeah.
yeah, you'll know like what I talked for such a long time right now. So when I'm teaching, like I know how much effort I make. So I know, and I make students work a lot also. I mean, and not with any malicious intention, but with good intention. They're there to work, then they must. So yeah.
Yes, yes. Thank you, Nisha ji. I have a wonderful talk to you. Anybody has any question, please raise their hand. I don't see anyone's hand. Oh, they have. Prajwal Tool is here. Go ahead, Prajwal Tool. You can unmute yourself.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Jyoti Nishaji, for a wonderful discourse.
Please
So
don't call me all of you. You can call me Jyoti. That's fine. Yeah.
uh,
Go on.
thank you, thank you. So I had a follow-up question on the screening in
Yeah.
institutions, and you did mention that you sort of sold the rights to Stanford, and I happen to be in the Bay Area, and we were thinking out loud with the Center for South Asia to screen the movie. But in this case, so we don't have to purchase the screening rights, is it?
No.
Is
I
my
mean, no. But there'll be a screening fee for
okay?
screening. Yeah.
Okay, got it. And so, okay, and is there a way that we can like so each institution has to have a distinct screening fee because we are
Yeah.
thinking leading up to the Jayanti, a lot of
Mm.
institutions would have their own Jayanti celebrations, and it would be a
Yeah.
wonderful idea if we could screen the
Yeah.
movie
Sure.
alongside. So
Yeah.
would each institution need to pay a screening fee
Yes.
and would a distinct okay,
Yeah.
got it.
Because it's separate institutions, right?
Got it. Yeah, thank you so much. Look forward
No
to
problem.
the movie. I mean, the
Yeah.
Yeah,
documentary.
yeah, Jyoti ji, that's what my question is, because we are celebrating in ASU, Arizona State University, Jayanti there. So that's what exactly the question come up with, if you want to do screening and how we can approach you. So
Yeah,
definitely
I'll
we'll
write. I'll just write my email here. You can write to me on this, and yeah, I'll just get back to you whenever. Oh no, sorry. Yeah, that's my email address. So, oh no, it's wrong. It's there has to be an E-I. तो चश्मा नहीं लगाया I think so मैंने. Yeah, so that's my email address. The second one. Just you can write to me and I can schedule it and let me know. Also, I mean, I got to plan it a little bit because there are a lot of things that's happened always on 14th. So then I have to also like time myself.
Yes, yes. I think we have a lot. I'll take this last question, and that's what you would suggest guide to the student from the community who might or is going to abroad for acting course like MFA.
Master of Fine Arts. I don't know. Abroad, I have no idea. I know about India a little bit. The best is like film school, NSD, SRFTI. But I don't know about abroad. Not much.
Yes, yes. So thank you, Nishaji, for your session. It was nice to have you in the celebration. I really really mesmerized by your work, and I hope to see more coming up. May we raise more fund, and may we raise more aware movie for us. And with this note, I'll thank to all participants and Anna, from Anna, that thank you so much for having, thank you for today's session.
Thank you so much. Thanks a lot for inviting me. I just went on. This is how I teach and talk about this. So I hope like I hope it was received well.
Yes, yes, it is. Yeah.
Okay, great.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Javin.
Jai Bhim.